awesome. I appreciate that. All right. So back on our website. So if you didn't get to join us last time or what have you, or you did and you're like, nope, just remind me again, I appreciate it. This is our main homepage for metasolutions.net, really simply put, okay? But we're going to cruise over onto the fiscal services page, and we're going to jump right into links and documents. And I'll go ahead and put this URL in our chat box today. So if you don't have the chat box open and you want to open that, you'll find this link there. And then within that link, I do want to show you a couple items that could be very important to you. Let's say you're working in your office and you know, you're doing stuff and then you get sick, kid gets sick, whatever, and you have to work remotely. And you're like, oh, I need to get into my application. I don't have my URL because I bookmarked and saved it. All of those types of situations. Good news for you. Well, you may not think it's good news, but it's good news if you need to do something, right? So in this top right area of our fiscal services page, again, the link that I just sent you, you're going to be able to find your district name listed either in the USPSR, USPSR, or again, we have some districts that are EMIS reporting only districts, and that's why they get special treatment. So just wanted to let you know those were there. But more importantly, if you scroll down a bit, you're going to find, and you can do a find on this page as well, but our YouTube Fiscal Services channel. If you click on that link, and I think hopefully one doesn't pop up and start playing. No, it doesn't, thank goodness. Okay, so always fearful it's gonna be my face and nobody wants to see that. All right, so you'll see here there's a list of all of our trainings. And I believe some of our team went through here and updated these, so you're going to see the most recent ones. You're not going to see one from 2020 that maybe we've redone twice, okay? You're going to see the most recent ones out here. So again, here's our USPSR Training Series 1 that we did last week. So we're very excited to get to share these types of trainings with you. All right, so I'll go ahead and close that. If we are back on our fiscal page, we're going to take a free ticket to ride. There's links here for IRS. There's links here for state software, Ohio Revised Code. I think our EMIS manuals on here, that type of stuff, ODJFS website. But on the bottom, on the right-hand side, you can visit the left-hand side too, but right-hand side is going to be any redesigned documents that we have updated or created for you. If you have EMIS folks, which I know you do, there's an area for EMIS staff. There's also a separate section for our calendar year-end information. Hard to believe that's right around the corner, folks. Hate to say that, hate to say it, but everybody's doing their preparation for it now. Then redesign fiscal year-end, okay? We just got done with that, thank goodness. Our roundtable discussions, those are not housed on our YouTube page. Those have a separate area all to themselves. So within the roundtable discussions, you'll see it's broken out by USPSR and USPSR, okay? And then we do have our inventory update. But again, this was from last November, so there may be more recent for that. And then we have a section, just like we did for Classic, those that have been here for Classic, for USPSR and USPSR, okay? So just want to let you know those are some extra resources you have available to you that can be very beneficial, all right? All right, so those that joined us last week, we got through a lot of stuff. It was great information, got some replies back from folks, veteran or not veteran, that it was super helpful and picked up on some tips and tricks. And that's the exact reason why we're doing this. One, to address those that haven't been in it or were taught by somebody else, and then also to, give you those tips and tricks, some saving type of deals, time-saving type of situations. On our agenda last week, the very last thing that we were to cover was going to be the payee and payroll item configuration. And as promised, since we didn't get that covered last week, we want to make sure we cover it this week, okay? So again, it was great. We had a great conversation. We just ran out of time, and that's okay. So where we're going to start today is what's called payee and payroll item configuration. So I'm going to take a deep breath and we're going to get started. If you have pencil and paper, however you learn, if you have two monitors and you have your application up and you're watching this, that's great. If you just want to watch as I go through all of this and make notes, that's awesome too. You do you. We can't teach you how to learn best. You know exactly how that goes. Okay? So when it comes to payee and payroll item configuration, in a nutshell, that is deduction setup. Okay? So in a nutshell, payee and payroll item configuration is how you set up your payroll items or your deductions and the foundation of those. Okay? So you've heard me say before, chicken and the egg, horse before the cart. I have all kinds of sayings, right? This one's going to be the horse before the cart, okay? Payee. Okay, so let's talk about payee. Under core, which is the only place you'll find payee, by the way, is the company name and address that you intend to send that payment to. Okay, company name and address that you intend to send that payment to. If you're new to redesign, these numbers here are irrelevant, okay? To the point of it does not require that you have a number assigned to a payee. If you've heard or whether you haven't heard, the information that you're working from in redesign was brought over from what was called a classic system. And in classic, there would be vendor numbers assigned when it was board paid type of items. So in other words, you're crossing the pond between payroll and USPSR, much like you did with employer distribution or entire employee or retirement share or leave projection. Okay, so again, numbers a moot point. The real meat and potatoes is the name, the address. Are they receiving an electronic payment? So electronic payments mean what? You're physically going in and transferring money, or you have it set up automatically as an ACH debit from your payroll or payroll account. Okay, so that's what that means. So let's go take a peek at one of these. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to click on edit just because it shows up darker so we can see it, as opposed to clicking on the eyeball and then edit. So again, you'll notice on this one, again, this is anonymized data. This is our demo account. I have the company name, okay? If they had a second name, is this an electronic payment? If it's flagged as an electronic payment, that means there will not be a physical check cut. So what does that mean if you have a company you're dealing with right now and you're gonna start doing that? This is your deal, okay? This is where you want to go and uncheck that so you don't get that physical check anymore, okay? That's your meat and potatoes right there. Street address, city, state, all of those types. We do often get the question, if it's an electronic payment, is it required to put in the street or the address? It's not, but seriously, it takes you like 2 seconds to enter it, so why not have it, right? It's just information you might need later. All right, so that's it in a nutshell. I do want to show you, maybe you're all giddy, and I know we've had some districts doing this. They've gone out and cleaned up some data. They're like, I have payees out here. I don't even know who they are. We don't have that annuity company anymore. We're not using ABC Insurance Company anymore. If you notice at the very bottom of a payee record, you can archive them. Yes, we all love the archive option. When we archive, okay, that removes a record from the grid or from view. And in certain payroll things, it also removes it from the data collector. So we're not going to talk about that today, but I just want to let you know, archiving is a fancy way of saying concealed. It is not deleting it, okay? All right. And you'll notice at the top of this grid, maybe you wanted to see that you used one before, maybe you go back to using ABC Company. You can always flag this box right here on the grid, and it says, please include those archived records that I've done. So again, you're not losing them. You're just getting rid of the noise, okay? You're kicking the kids out of the pool, okay? It's just the rest bell. All right, so if we go to create one, okay? Again, you don't have to put number in there, but it's the same exact fields I just showed you. Name, address, flag it if it's electronic, okay? Simply put, now, again, payees should be set up first before you go set up a payroll item, okay? So let's go into payroll item configuration. Again, for people that are new to payroll, in the state software redesign, and it was in Classic as well, there are different types, payroll item types, okay? So I want to bring that to your attention in the very first column, okay? Even though you see numbers or codes attached to these payroll items or to these deductions, that does not determine the order of calculation in your payroll. The type does, okay? The type does. So obviously if we have $1,000 and we have a $500 pre-tax item, what's happening first? The pre-tax item's coming off first and then everything after that, okay? So there is a calculation to that. So I want you to know that if you ever need to do any maintenance, whether it's creating, editing, or just looking it up, okay, that's going to be done here. Payroll item configuration is your deduction setup, okay? Now, are all payroll items created equal? Well, absolutely not, right? We just stated that there are different types of payroll items. There's obviously federal tax, state tax, city taxes, your retirements, you're seeing CERS and STRS, annuities, which are going to be pre-tax, okay? Then there are regular tax items, which is going to be after tax or post-tax items, okay? Then there's child support. And then you're going to find your employer CERS and STRS, okay, which is going to be your pickup on pickup, okay? Your Medicare tax, so Medicare is typically a 692, and then your Ohio School District income tax, that's what OSDI means. If you didn't know that, it's Ohio School District income tax. And again, we don't want to make any assumptions. We have some people on this call that have not done payroll before for a school district, so we don't want to make any assumptions here. And then, yep, that's it for now. Okay, so you would agree that for those of us that are on the call who have been around for Classic for a while, there was a numbering system. And when we migrated, again, the source of this information you're seeing here was from a Classic system. And there was a numbering series in place. So we've been able to keep that, and a lot of districts continue with that because, to be quite frank, I think we were a little brainwashed with some of the codes we used to use. So typically, you use an 001 code for federal, 002 code for state. Your city taxes fell between the numbering series of 003 and 099. So again, if you needed to create a new city tax, right? Maybe a city tax is getting voted on this fall, and you're going to have a new city tax this next January that you need to create, okay? You could look between the numbering series 003 to 099. Now, what's really nice about this system is you don't have to, we used to have to run a report to see what was available or hit like a key 1,000 times to see what the next number available was. Now you can do a range, 003.099, and you can see what the next number is available. So that is super helpful. I know that in that range, my next number available is 016. So when I go to create, and again, I'm going to use the example of a city tax, so thank you for allowing me to do that. I have to choose the type of payroll item first before I can go any further. Why is that? Because I think we would all agree a city tax is going to be set up differently and meet different criteria than a regular tax item, a regular payroll item, right? It's not going to ask, does it withhold or does it accept? Is it not forgiving for cafeteria 125? Do you want to include fringe benefits? So again, there's going to be different things related to each payroll item you do. So always keeping that in mind, okay? Even not all annuities are created equal. I think we've all found that out as well. Okay, so when you go to create a payroll item, again, this will be hard-coded, okay? So let's say you start this and you're like, crud, I didn't mean to do city tax, just cancel it, okay? You're not saving anything, okay? It's not going to create something fictitious. But then I would add my 016, okay? I would be intentional with the name, ABC City, okay? Abbreviation. Now this is consistent with all payroll items. This shows on their pay stub, okay? So be intentional when you come and use this abbreviation. This is what's showing on their pay stub, okay? So you don't want to include 50 letters, okay? Keep it brief, keep it simple, okay? W-2 abbreviation. We ask that you keep that brief as well. Typically, if you're using it in the abbreviation column, if we were to do this, you can simply do a copy and a paste if you wish, okay? So for consistency. Payment cycle. Let's review this because we even have some veteran folks that get a little confused on payment cycle. There is a payment cycle, and on the actual payroll item on an employee, it's called a payroll cycle, okay? So on this payroll item configuration, this payment cycle relates directly to your outstanding payables process, okay? This payment cycle right here relates directly to when you go pay your outstanding payables. It's how you're selecting anyone that's attached to this city tax to come in for payment, okay? So this is used as like a filtering in that outstanding payables area, okay? So if I were to choose every payroll, then that means this city, they want their payment when I go to pay all my deductions, they want it every payroll, okay? If it's monthly, then I'm going to pull it out monthly, okay? But when I go to set this deduction up on an employee, that's going to be every pay, right? So again, there's two different things to look at. How does it impact when we pay it, but how does it act when the employee is contributing into it, okay? So I want to make sure everyone knows this payment cycle right here has direct correlation to your outstanding payables. So some of you maybe you're thinking right now, oh crap, I've got some cities that are coming in and I see them like all the time, but I pay them quarterly. You can come here and check and make sure maybe if some of them are set as monthly and you don't have to cut the check to the city until quarterly, come change this, right? You can come change it in here and maintenance it here. Okay. Tax entity code, this becomes important at calendar year end, so I'm not going to flood anybody's mind with that right now. If you have this set up, it stays that way all the time. We put it on our calendar year and instructions. There's great instructions there on how to verify those. So that's basically going to be for any of our new districts this year, 2022, because everybody had them set for last year. CCA and RETA. You'll notice CCA is at the top and RETA is at the bottom. Okay, so if it's a CCA or RETA, you're just going to fill in all of that information applicably. City tax annuity options, okay? I'm not going to get into the weeds because everybody has something different. Here is our disclaimer. Contact the entity, contact the municipality. Because of all the municipalities across the state of Ohio, everybody has a different reading on this, okay? One of the ones that is most used is the city tax annuities for the non-wage, okay? Non-wage 125, which is typically your cafeteria plan stuff. Are they taxing non-wages or not? So that seems to be the big one, okay? For any information on any of this, couple things. You can either go look at the documentation out on the website, which is incredibly good. We still reference it, or you can reach out to us as a team and we'll assist you with that. This next grouping called employer paid amounts to be taxed. This would be applicable if, let's say you have someone that is getting pickup on pickup. Let's pick on administrators, right? They're getting pickup on pickup for retirement. Not only is the board paying the board share, but it's also paying all of the employee share. Well, this city may say, I want mine now, okay? So what that means is you would come in here and you would pick, let's say, because I was picking on retirement. Let's go down to those codes. Let's do 690 and 691 if my little slow fingers can find them. 690, 691. If I choose these two and, big ol' and, tax employer amounts, then that means if someone is marked as fringe benefits or this is being paid on behalf of them, it's also going to tax at that rate as well. So again, check with your district on how those rules apply for you. I'm just letting you know how that rolls, okay? So down toward the bottom, you have some options. So this suppressed Social Security number, that's basically when those reports and such are run. Medicare pickup, do you want to include Medicare pickup on this item? Is it required? Right now, this required field is not working. They're trying to create a wizard to walk you through step-by-steps of what deductions are required, what aren't. If you're using employee onboarding, those are visible to you, okay? But if you're not, then you're kind of walking through it on your own. Is this deduction an employer healthcare coverage? Well, it's not. It's city tax, okay? So if we were setting up insurance, it might be considered healthcare coverage, which is then going to flag it on the W-2. Are we taxing non-cash earnings? Do you want to show it on the Create Wizard? Again, this option's not available, right? It doesn't work right now. It's available, it shows it, but it's not at that point. Job level. Let's talk about this. I know I'm on a city tax, but that's okay because maybe there's workplace wages. Maybe you have someone, you're in a larger district, and they're working at two of the buildings that are in two tax entities, okay? You could assign this per job if you wanted. Let's say you have one set up to do at this building and one set up to do at this building because they're two different building IRNs and that. You could set that up for job level. And then is it a voluntary? Again, this voluntary falls right in with the required. Here's where payee comes into play, okay? If we don't have that payee created first and we come in here and try to do this, it won't let us save it without a payee. Now, could you pick some random different one because you forgot? Absolutely. You could pick some random different one, go create it, come back in here, change it and add it and save it again. So that's fine. But I don't know about you guys, but I don't like doing work twice if I don't have to. So just letting you know, you can on the fly add one, but just go back and update it. Okay? So that's just an example of a city, okay? You should not ever have to mess with your federal or state ones. Your CSRs and CSRs should already be set up. But even within certain annuities, okay, I want to show you this area. They're setting up the annuity and then telling it what type of annuity it is, okay? This can be confusing sometimes. So see, we have an annuity here, but then you have to define. See this annuity type right here? It wasn't on the city tax, was it? And we don't have all the city tax options. So this is definitely a different type. You then have to define what annuity type it is. Okay? So I just wanted to show you that as well. All right. Any questions on payee or payroll item configuration where you would go add or maintenance your deductions? Anybody see any? I'm not seeing any, but nope. Okay. All right. That said, we're going to go on. The next item, or the first one that was for today's agenda, is the employee dashboard. And who doesn't love the employee dashboard? Me. So we briefly spoke on this on the last training. This right here, this white box right up here is your employee dashboard. That's what gets you into just seeing the employee you need to see. But let me reiterate that you must create the employee record first before you can go visit them in the dashboard. Okay, again, this is the horses before the cart. Okay, so we see all employees through the core area. Okay, so here's all of our employees. We must have our employee accounted for here. And not archived. Remember, if we have someone archived, they're not showing up in the dashboard, okay? So again, it gets rid of some more of that noise, okay? All right, so I'm gonna go pick on our lovely Daisy Duck in the dashboard, and we're just gonna review the dashboard a little bit here, okay? So this isn't high level stuff right here. This is just reviewing what you can get to and what you can't, in case you didn't have any time to play around, okay? Often we get the question, do I have to go back to core to see the employee record? And that answer is no. To get to the employee record, you click on the down arrow right underneath the picture, and you can go right into editing the employee, okay? Good news, on Social Security numbers, we're all human, right? And sometimes we fat finger things. So if you get the Social Security number wrong, don't stress, okay? You can go right back in and change it now. In our old system, for those that have been around, it was like a nightly process, right? And everybody had to be out of files. It was kind of a pain in the butt. So just be incredibly sure that you have your Social Security numbers proper, okay? All right, so that's the employee record. So let's just go down through the left-hand side. So we're gonna do that, and then I have some really cool news. Somebody don't let me forget about what's going on at the top here. So again, this is a snapshot of leaves, gross pays, year-to-date pays, month-to-date pays, what have you. Positions, okay? So again, I'm not going to go into each one of these until we talk about them on our training, but positions is going to be, Daisy is secretary, and she also subs as an aide if need be, does miscellaneous types of stuff, okay? Those positions may not change for years. I talked about John Doe being the custodian at the district for 25 years. His position never changes. What changes from year to year is the compensation record, okay? So this is where you're going to find those contracts and non-contracts, right? The meat and potatoes of the money, okay? That's where you're going to find that stuff. Leaves, okay? This is where you're going to find if they're eligible for leave. Now, how do you know if they're eligible for leave? Again, I have new payroll people on here. Eligibility for leaves is based on the position, okay? So you could have someone in your district that is a part-time cook and a part-time aide. They could have different leave definitions based on the position that they work, okay? So let's look at that real quick. So remember, I didn't say to you, see, she's a secretary and a sub-aide. So if we go into this eyeball, right here in this teeny tiny little section called eligibility flags, this is where we know if she's eligible for leave or not. So I'm going to show you, okay? So I'm going to have her eligible for personal leave and eligible for sick leave. Now, I don't know if you remember when I was in leaves before, it didn't show up anything, okay? I've just flagged her as eligible. When I save that, oh, bonus, we get a print screen here. Don't know if anybody's seen these yet in some of these screens, but print screens on here and audit report, which I'm like uber excited about. Okay, so let's go into leaves. And I'm going to refresh. I have found this to be the case. If you make changes like that, you may have to refresh your screen. And ta-da, it's like the magic wand right there, that refresh button, okay? So now it shows that she is eligible for personal leave and sick leave, okay? And we're going to talk about leaves. I think it's on next week's training, if I recall, without looking. Maybe. We may have to do a series 4, and that doesn't hurt my feelings any. All right, so this is where we're going to see leaves. So you can go in and you can see setup for both sick and personal. I had a great question the other day from one of our users. I'm so glad she brought it up. She has someone that like works 1 or 2 days a week. Personally, she gets like everybody else on a daily basis, but her sick leave, they give to her kind of more like in an hourly basis type of situation. And for those of us that have been on for a while, we know what? The leave types must match. If sick leave and personal leave, that has to match. It has to be the same leave unit for both. So if you ever get a warning or an error, that's what it's flagging. Okay, that's what it's flagging. All right. So something else I want to show you is this came on within the last few months, which is awesome to see it here because you used to only be able to see this in the core area, is the accumulations tab. So now you can go back on an employee and say, did I give them sick leave when they started? You know, so if you need to know that and you don't want to go into core leaves and accumulation and filter by the employee, if you're right here in the dashboard, you will be able to find that. See where it says accumulate sick leave, or I can filter by it. Okay, you'll be able to see that here. Okay, I'm going to make a note. We need to talk about leave sometime because I want to talk about accumulation. All right, anyway. All right, so the next thing down the left-hand side is pay distributions. This is how the employee's pay is being distributed, okay? This is going to be set up whether you're giving them a check. You have to tell the system intentionally, I want them to get a check, or I want them to have direct deposit, okay? So we're going to go into the eyeball, and you'll notice that this employee has 2 direct deposits, okay? One is a full percentage of 100. You can't have 2 active 100%. Okay, it'll squawk at you all day long. Okay, won't know what to do with it. But you can have a fixed in percent. Okay, so for this employee, they have $100 a pay going to this savings account. Okay, this was our code. We'll kind of go over this a little bit when we cover pay distributions. And then they have 100% of the remaining going to a checking account. Okay. All right, so you can see everything for these employees right here. Okay, so payments. All right, can everybody hear me okay? Vicki from Buckeye Valley can't hear me anymore. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, all right. Vicki and Marla, thank you for chiming in. Vicki, what you might want to do is let me give you the phone number. So you can stay on Zoom with us, but you can call in and then give the meeting ID, and that might help you. So if I may, folks, I'm going to take a brief pause. So Vicki, I'm going to put the phone number to call in the chat box, and the ID number that you'll need to enter when prompted. Let's see, 9852581. Okay, Vicki, try that. Stay on with us on the video portion, but try that phone number and see if that works, my friend. When it comes up with participant ID, all you have to do is hit pound. It doesn't need that. All right, thank you. All right, so payments. Payments is a cool area that you can see specific. This has been, so I've talked to some people like this has been the best, because we've all gotten employment verification of employment. Boy, I reversed that. Verification of employment before for our employees, and they've wanted 3 months worth of pay stubs, right? It was kind of a pain before to go get those. Now it's not so much pain, which is wonderful. So now you can come in here and you could put that date range in here and pull them all up and then flag them all, okay? In this feature right here. Print payment checks and direct deposit. So if you ever need to print something for somebody, I'm going to show you how this rolls. Direct deposit, PDF. Okay, I'm going to process that bad boy, and when it comes up, it's going to create a PDF for you of all those pay stubs. Then you can just file, save it, and either email it or print it off and provide that to your district, or to your district, goodness, to your employee, okay? All right, good stuff, cheap right there. Let's say you needed to void a payroll or a payment check to someone. You can do it in 2 places. This is one of the places, okay? You can do it under payments, which we're going to talk about here at the end of our training today, hopefully, if we don't carry it over into the next one. You can void or unvoid here, or you can do it up in the payments area as well. Okay, so I want to let you know that that is available to you. Let's say you've had to do a refund for someone. Let's say they left your employment, you're done paying them, and oh crud, I forgot to give them what they paid in health insurance back. Like you've got 1,000 things going on, everybody does, right? And especially payroll in this time of year, and you just blanked out on stopping that deduction, okay? no harm, no foul. You go out, and I know many of you have done refunds in redesign, and you think it's pretty slick now because you don't have to do a special pay. It is pretty slick now. You just basically put it in and cut them a check for it. Those show up here. So if you've ever done a refund payment to someone, those are now going to show up here as well as under the payments window. Okay, so what you see in this refund area is very similar to what you're going to see down here, except this in the dashboard just relates to that employee. Oh, good deal, Vicki. Thank you for letting us know. All right. Next within the employee dashboard is attendance. Last week we talked about like the gazillion ways you could add attendance and absences, and this is the same options that you have under core and attendance. Okay, same options. So you can do it here on the fly or up in that area. Payroll items. We just got done talking about payroll item configuration, right, and pays and how to set them up. So I want to show you something real quick. So let's go pick on this, and let's go pick on the Medicare one. Okay, you notice this says pay cycle, okay? And it's every pay of the month because that's how it relates to the employee. When is that deduction? When is that payroll item coming out for the employee? And remember back in the core payroll item configuration, it said payment cycle, not pay, but payment. So when am I making those payments? So that's the differentiation between the two. Okay? All right. One brief note on payroll items for everybody on the call. How many of you have ever come in here and done create and you've picked on a payroll item? I'm just going to pick on this, see if it pops up. And this box right here comes up asking you about position. I know, poor Corinne. I just happened to see her face. Out of my side vision, I saw some motion, and Corinne was not. Yeah, trust me. And Corinne will contest this, and I know we have a couple other people that will too. First time you do this will be the last time you do this, right? So this is not necessary, but maybe only 1% of your payroll time. Okay. So here's what that means for my new folks on here. It is saying, okay, you're setting up this payroll item, you're setting up this deduction. What position do you want that deduction coming off of? Now let's think about this, okay? What if an employee has a teaching position, 3 coaching positions, and they're getting extra pay on something else, but you assign retirement only to the teaching position, okay? Not good, okay? Not good. It's saying you intentionally only want to take that deduction off of that job or that position. That's not what you want to do. Situations that you might want to do that in, okay? Let's say you have an administrator who they can't find a junior high basketball coach, okay? Poor junior high kids, right? They can't find a junior high basketball coach. So he steps up to the plate, he or she, and says, I'll go coach. But they don't get full pickup on that coaching position, only on their admin job. That's when you would then assign those payroll items to specific positions, okay? So if you ever get in a situation like that, call us, email us, let us know, and we will help walk you through fixing that, okay? Sometimes it happens. Sometimes you're accidentally choosing, position 1 because you're just in the headset of getting stuff done. But 99% of the time, you do not need this. And it doesn't offer that up on all deductions. You'll note, if I choose federal tax, it's not an option, okay? If I choose state tax, not an option, okay? If I choose city tax, it does. Why? Because remember I talked about workplace taxes, those types of things. So again, you only want to set that up when necessary, okay? All right. So the next item down the road is a great segue into our next item on our agenda today. So before I move forward, today we covered so far payee and payroll item configuration. We covered what the dashboard looks like, right, and the intention of the dashboard, and then payroll items. Okay, we were looking at our payroll items, how to add those. We talked about when to assign by position. Before I get out of payroll items, These buttons right here are misleading. You know, if I hover over the circle with an X and it says delete, it's actually not delete, okay? It's actually archive. Let me uncheck mark that. So if I were in here and I selected delete, okay? It's going to say, do you want to delete? Well, that's not the gospel truth. So if I do delete, okay, it says, oops, it can't be deleted. Well, first of all, it's already been pulled into a payroll, okay? But what it's going to do is it would archive. So there are certain ones of these that you can archive, and again, they'll just hide them from view, okay? All right, any questions on payee, payroll item configuration, the dashboard, or payroll items? Oh, I do have a question. Why does the health insurance pop up on employee onboarding? It won't let you delete it until the employee is complete. It may be something with the setting on your payroll item configuration, Robin. So if I recall, that employee onboarding looks at, so let me go back there for you real quickly. I guess it's like a 500 for you or something along that line. I believe it's the voluntary or the required. Somebody with, yep, and Corinne's giving me the nod. Thank you. So Robin, go back into payroll item configuration, and if it's not letting you delete it, my guess is you probably have it as required, not voluntary. So you might just want, yep, thanks, Corinne, that's okay. And Robin, if that doesn't work, my friend, reach out to us in a help desk ticket. Jen, thank you for that confirmation, and we'll walk through that with you, Robin. Thank you for bringing it up, and you're welcome. And ladies, thank you for the assist on that. I appreciate that. Please. Okay, so any other questions there when it comes to payroll, payroll items? Okay, for those of you who have went through our trainings when we migrated, you all know that there is a document that I absolutely love when it comes to payroll items. And I tell everybody, reference it. Like seriously, we as a fiscal team still do because things could change. So I'm gonna put this link in the chat box. So if you wanna grab it and bookmark it or just do something with it later, game on. Here's the reason I like to share this with our users. Start and stop dates. If you've ever been burnt by them, like the first time you don't have a deduction coming out, or you have it coming out and it shouldn't have come out, and you're doing that refund situation, 2 seconds to come and look at this, okay? Start and stop dates can be different based on the payroll item type. Remember when we talked about payroll items? I said they all have, I showed you in that grid, they all have a different type. So let's say we're dealing with an annuity for an example. So I'm going to use that link. I'm going to go right to an annuity. And I guarantee if any of you send us a help desk or you call us or something like this, I guarantee our entire team is going here first. We are going here to look at this. All right. So full transparency. This is our game too. So I'm going to go into the annuity item, and I want you to know there are several, sorry for the scrolling, start and stop dates that are relative to. So we may say, okay, are you talking about the payroll items, start and stop dates itself, or are you talking about a date within an error adjustment, okay? Because those could be different, okay? So if you're planning on scheduling error adjustments, which is the coolest thing ever. So I'm going to take a brief note. Let's say you have a new teacher that's coming on and you're not double deducting that first insurance premium, right? You're doing it over their first pay and over their second pay so they don't get hit so hard. You can actually schedule those out. So if you want or have questions about that, let us know and we'll help you with that. But I'm going to scroll down to the area for date range. It's called active date range, okay? So this active date range right here. For an annuity, the start date is the pay date for the payroll. But there are payroll items that it says it has to be within that pay date's range, okay? So that's the difference. Not all payroll items are created equal. An annuity happens to be the pay date, okay? The stop date has to be prior to the pay date for which you don't want it coming out. So let's say you have a payroll on September 30th and you don't want that deduction coming out. In that case, you could put September 29th, right? It's not going to come out because it's looking at the pay date, okay? All right, the other date that we need to look at, well, there is the specific date. So if you're doing max amounts, but we're not going to talk about max amounts right now. That's a whole other conversation, probably a good roundtable conversation, to be quite frank. But let's go to error adjustments. I got to find it. There we go. Error adjustments. There's a date field here as well for employee error adjustments and employer error adjustments. For this, if the date field is left blank for the error adjustment, it's automatically going to process on your next payroll. Okay, as long as you don't have a start and stop date up top that's stopping that bad boy. Okay. Let's see here. If you add a date, so let's see, it must, here it is, must be a date within the payroll processing period. You see what I'm saying? Let's say your pay date is September 30th, but your date range is the 1st through the 15th. Is the same rule apply here on the error adjustment that it did for the start and stop date of the payroll item itself? Nope. This is a date within the range where that was the actual date. So this is why I state you should always come and visit this document to make sure you're not having to redo work for yourself. Okay. Any questions on payroll items before we go into payroll accounts? Under employer error, is it possible to have a note to state negative amount will give back? And on the documentation itself, Robin, is that what you're talking about?
No, I actually messed up a payroll once. I was refunding money and I actually took it out again because I had it backwards. And I just thought there's a little note under there while you're doing the payroll that, you know, like you said, we got a million things going on and just those little hints will help.
Okay, yeah, no problem. I was looking for it down in these steps, but I actually just found it, Miss Robin. Right here, I'm looking under this employee error adjustment here. It does have a note. Now, it's not bold, so to your point, it's not bolded, but it does state a negative amount in this field will give back money to the employee. So I think what I'll do is, I love that suggestion, but maybe it just needs to be bolded a little bit, right? So let me send that enhancement request up to see if that can bring just a little bit more attention to that field. But it isn't in the payroll processing. Oh, like a note on your checklist for doing your payroll? Yeah, you may just want to add that there because it's not applicable to all things. You may just want to add it to. Robin, I'm going to have you unmute yourself because I don't think I may be clear. So maybe you're talking about, so while you're unmuting, maybe you're talking about a tooltip when you're actually in the error adjustment. So let's talk about that. That would be like super uber helpful. Let's see here.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah.
Like,
so you're
like just have a note right there next to your positive that you just clicked on saying a negative will take it out, a positive will give it back, or vice versa.
Love that idea. Yeah, like adding a little tooltip. So seriously, they could almost take what they already have in their documentation and add that as a tooltip. Yep, I've got that note. I'll send that up. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Good stuff. See, this is where it comes from. I love this. We're going to make it better for everybody, right? And that's what's so cool. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, you're very welcome. Any other questions for payroll items payroll items? None. Team, are you getting any that we should address to the group? Hearing none, we'll proceed. All right, we are going to go into payroll accounts. Bum, 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 right? This is the time of year where everybody's like, no, then stop it. So there are some tool tips that we can give you. And if this training becomes, more than you can handle as far as like taking notes or, oh gosh, I wish I remember, reach out to us and we'll help you get the information that you need. There's all kinds of different ways to Sunday. There are all kinds of great little tool tips on, making sure that those accounts get updated on your employees. You can do a mass load. You can extract the old account and you can put in the new account in a mass load. But I want to visit a couple things with you first. So I'm glad we've got some time here to do payroll accounts. So I'm going to go back to our documentation, and there is something that I want to bring to everyone's attention. So I'm going to blow this up a little bit because my eyes are getting to be a little geriatric here. All right, so right here, this section, okay? If an expenditure account, so those that don't know, an expenditure account comes from USAS land, okay? There is an area called USAS Integration Account Synchronization. That's how payroll talks to USAS through that USAS integration area, which we'll visit when we get back in there, okay? An expenditure account, also called a budget account, okay, it took me years to realize that back when I was at the district, okay? If the expenditure account has not yet been created in USPSR, it must exist first before adding it in USPSR payroll account. So let's take a pause right there. You go set up a brand new employee who you know is going to be being paid out of grant accounts. Now, most of you already have it handled at this point because you've already done your first payrolls. You got everybody in the pool now. But let's say you get a new grant and you go out and you're adding that to the employee and you're like, where's the account? Why isn't this showing up? That's because it hasn't been created in USAS yet. So either let your finance people know, you go do it. Everybody does things a little differently at the districts. As long as that account is created and active and doesn't have a start and stop date that would block you from using it, you can then use that account. Now, I'm going to have you make another note. Even though you see that expenditure account and you can pull it in, when you get into your payroll, okay, and you go initializing your payroll and doing that, and if you get an error or a warning that says the parent account is not active, here's what that means, okay? Either the cash account or the, cash account, or the fund has not been created. So maybe you have a brand new 572, whatever. They may have created that fund but didn't make it active and stuff. So those are the parents. So in USAS land, without going too big into the weeds, it's a fund, cash account, then your expenditure and revenue accounts. Okay, again, so fund, cash account, expenditure and revenue go off of that. So just like we have parents, those expenditure accounts have parents. In other words, they're derived from. A cash account is going to be the fund and the special cost center. So let's say you have a 509-9023, okay? You can pull the expenditure account in, but if you get that error warning and you go back into USAS and you're like, look, the account looks good. Okay, well, go to the parent. If I go into the 509-9023 and it's not active, that's why, okay? It just means somebody missed turning it on, okay? So just want to let you know a little bit about that. Also, a brief note, we've noticed with a couple districts lately that even though they've done everything they needed to do in USAS land and you've synchronized with USAS, it has been taking just a little bit of delayed time. We think it could be part of that whole proxy thing that we're trying to address, okay? Just give it some time. I've had it anywhere last with a district 5 minutes up to 20 minutes, but they've gone out, synced again, refreshed, and it's popped up. So just be a little patient with it. If an expenditure payroll account has a status of inactive, so again, if an expenditure payroll account, not in USAS land, okay, in USAS land, but you can see it in payroll, it will not show in the drop-down box as available when creating a new payroll account. Now, again, this is the expenditure, okay? If the expenditure has an inactive status, it will not show. A new payroll account on the employee's compensation. Accounts that have an inactive status in USPSR may still show on the employee's payroll account or compensation history and can be made inactive in payroll or in USPS. We have some districts that are pulling stuff out and making old grant accounts inactive now. Okay, great. That's awesome. When you have time to do that, let's tackle that. The USPSR account status may be inactive, does not remove it from the posted payroll history, okay? So just because they make something inactive for 2 fiscal years ago on a grant account doesn't automatically flag it as inactive once it's assigned to a payroll person, okay? I know that's a lot of information, but if you ever wonder how payroll accounts go, this is a great little explanation on that. Okay, all right. So within our application, okay, we're going to talk about 2 things. How many of you have noticed and used in CORE? We sent an email back out about it. It's been a few months now. There's 2 areas for payroll accounts. Anybody notice that? Yes, yes? Yeah? How many have played around in the new one? I know we have. I know I have a couple districts that have. Okay. So we're going to show you this new area next, okay? But right now I'm going to stick with the payroll accounts here and in the dashboard, okay? But we are going to visit both. All right, in this grid, okay, in this grid, what you are going to see is your employees, the positions, okay? So we're going to alphabetize that. We're going to do last name. And if you've not done this before, I know we have some beginner payroll people, you can actually do multiple sorts in here. So I sorted by last name. I just left clicked on the header. Then I'm going to go over to position. I'm going to hold the shift key, hold it, and left click on position number. So what that's going to do is it's going to keep my alphabetical order, and then it's also going to put them in position order. Okay? So, big deal. Just fancies up my grid a little bit, right? But you're like, look, I've gone to the more area 1,000 times and I cannot find to pull in all of Brian Aguirre's payroll accounts. Well, here's the reason why. And here's the reason why we have that payroll accounts new grid, all right? When this was created, you can only imagine how many payroll accounts could be tied to each position, right? Year after year, especially if you have people in music, if you have people that are paid out of grant monies for 10 years, right? All off of position 1. They could have 10 accounts just for their main job, let alone anything they may have done for anything miscellaneous. So let's go look at Brian Aguirre's position 1. Okay. Oh my goodness, right? So this is just Brian's accounts history, just off of his first position, okay? If we go into his second one, look at all of those. So Brian alone has like 20 payroll accounts. Can you imagine how noisy this grid would be with all of Brian's accounts, okay? So that is why this grid is set this specific way. Basically, it's for you to go in and look at someone, but you can do the exact same thing by going into the employee dashboard and seeing the employee's payroll accounts, okay? Now, while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and show you, let's say I'm going to pick on Brian again, okay, of his accounts, okay? We've got, again, the expenditure account listed, their status, okay? You're not going to be able to have 2 active at 100%, okay? The system has no idea which one to charge, so you are going to get an error on that, okay? You can his first one is active. It's 100%. So that means when we process payroll for him, 100% is going to be charged to this account. But if you look at the bottom, he also has a specific miscellaneous for a fixed amount. So that means $100 of his $1,000 pay is going to be charged to this account, and the remainder will then be charged to the rest. Okay, so these active and rates are incredibly important. Actually, he has a lot of accounts in here with a specific fixed. So please know he's getting charged all of those first, and what remains is coming off of that. All right. Then let's scroll over to this area. Okay, maximum amount is used in some cases as well, and you can do a start date on those. Okay, so maybe you have 5 people splitting a $10,000 grant. You might have a maximum for each one of those people and a stop date or a start date for those. Let's talk about employer distribution. Okay, employer distribution. There is a fabulous document. I'm going to take a pause. On our fiscal services links and docs, I'm going to go into USPSR. I'm going to send you this link in the chat box. Okay. I love this document. Our own Carol Van Sickle updated this. We had it for Classic. She updated it for redesign. It is this one right here. It is called Employer Distribution Step by Step, and it is fabulous. It walks you through scenarios. It walks you through how employer distribution works, anywhere from flagging it on the employee's payroll accounts all the way through employer distribution. Okay, it gets you through all of that. It's a really good document. All right, so circling back to this, employer distribution, that means when I run, if you're a district that runs the employer distribution, okay, there's 2 ways to run it, and it's that flag, right? It's that flag of, do I want to use only those accounts that are flagged as employer distribution, or I want to use all? So for example, without getting too much into the weeds on employer distribution, Medicare, right? Typically when we run our employer distribution for Medicare, okay, our 692 code, we are not check marking that box, okay? So regardless of whether that they're getting paid by grant monies or whatever, we want everybody in the pool. We want to pick up because the board's paying the 1.45% for all employees, okay? Rarely does it not happen. But let's say we have that same person being paid out of grant monies and you're running employer distribution for insurance. Well, grant monies doesn't typically cover insurance costs, okay? So you may have this not checked here saying, nope, I only want to, when I run my insurance for employer distribution, I'm going to then check mark. Let me show you. So when I go to reports and employer distribution, this little flag right here can cause all kinds of chaos, okay? So use only employer distribution accounts means it's only going to look at those employees where I have it checked marked as employer distribution, okay? It's only going to look at those accounts. And then it's going to prorate them. So let's say you have 3 accounts on there. Well, it's going to prorate whatever the cost is over those 3, okay? All right. Go back into my payroll accounts. I think we were looking at Mr. Aguirre, I believe so. Yeah. Okay, so that's employer distribution. Same with leave projection. If you are a district, not all districts do it, but if you're a district that use leave projection, same thing. When you go into reports and you run leave projection, are you using only those with leave projection? Sort order, you don't need to worry so much about right now, except if you have, see, I have all these specific miscellaneous ones. Maybe there's ones you want to use before others. You can do that sort option, okay? Oh, before I close it, then there's the add feature, okay? Do I want to add a new one? You would do add, and you would basically add all the information that you've just seen here. Okay? All right. Any questions so far on a payroll account? Okay, while you're crafting your questions, you can find payroll accounts in 3 areas. 4 because of employee dashboard. Sorry about that if you're using it. You're going to find payroll accounts here under payroll accounts new, and then of course in the dashboard that we reviewed earlier. Okay, you're going to get the same features in the employee dashboard as I just showed you through the core area. Okay? All right. So let's go visit this payroll accounts new area. Very excited about this area. Okay? Now, this is in transition. Okay? This area here. So before you tap me, hey, where's the more option? Hey, where's the report option? All that kind of stuff. It is coming. Okay? They wanted to get a good feel off of what people thought of this grid first. Well, I don't know about any of you, but what does this show? It shows all those accounts that we were talking about not showing in that other grid, correct? Here's Joe Garza, but we were looking at, I think his name was Acquire, spelled this way, maybe not, maybe this. Not sorting. And I have a demo account, so we'll see how this rolls. Well, let's try looking up Daisy Duck instead. Oh, well, Daisy shows up, fabulous. Okay, so this is basically showing anything that is currently out there, okay? I can also include archived employees and positions, okay, in this grid, okay? This grid will be super beneficial for what? If you wanted to extract some old accounts, let's say you filtered it by Special Cost Center 9302. Let me break the employee name. Oh, now come on. Let me refresh. Okay. Let's say we wanted to filter by, what was it, 9302, I think. Yeah, perfect. So let's say this was an old Special Cost Center from 2002, right? And you're like, we're not using these anymore. You see that, you know, you have miscellaneous stuff over here or what have you. Then you could extract this in Excel data format, change them to inactive and load it back in. So this will be great. But just so you know, there is an alternative, okay? When you go to Home or Report Manager, okay, again, we're talking about payroll accounts. I want to point your attention to 2 reports. This one is the payroll account report. This report shows you current standings. So basically everything that we just saw in that new grid, okay, this is going to pull in everyone's standings right now, okay, where they stand. So you can still come out here, choose Excel field names. So I'm going to go to the second window here, Excel field names. So if you're not familiar with this Excel field names, it basically pulls in the header records that we want to do a mass load. So it's a big cheat. It's just a great big time saving measure, okay? If I go to my Special Cost Center, 9302, and I run this report, in theory, it should be those 6 or 8 records that I had, right, in that grid. And Bueller, we'll let this run. Oh, there's those records. Gosh, I always act like I'm so surprised it actually came up the way I anticipated. You know, how many are now? Don't lie. Y'all are the same way. You're like, oh, thank goodness, right? We all desire that. All right. So again, this is now extracted so we could ready this and do it as a load into payroll accounts and inactive a bunch of junk that we don't use anymore. Okay. So all kinds of fancy ways of doing this. Okay, so I want to make sure you all are aware. I know a lot of you are wanting to clean up your files. You can take it in sections, you can take it in chunks, or you can do a free-for-all. Just be careful in what you do, okay? So that is available too. So I just want to make sure you knew that that was there. There is also a report at the top. So again, sorry for the scroll. It's an SSDT one. And we prefer this one better. It's called SSDT Account History. Now, the one that I just showed you is current standings, right? That's how everything's sitting right now. These are accounts that have been charged when you've posted a payroll, okay? So if we go run this report, okay, again, you can give it a start date, a stop date. Maybe you just want to pick on one employee and see what they've been charged over the history of being there at your district. Or you can run it on Special Cost Center, okay? Let's say I need to see history on how much money was paid out of the Special Cost Center. Now, I had Daisy in there, and I don't know how much I charged her on this, so we'll see what. This, I'm like, if it comes with anything, I'll be thrilled because I was picking on Daisy for part of it. All right, let's see what happens. Now, I did just run this in PDF format, so it'll give me a total. So if you are new to redesign, PDFs will give totals where there may be amounts to value. But if you run it in anything other, you obviously would need to add in your own subtotaling and sorting if you wish. We'll let this run up. How are we on time? 2:14, we're doing good. We always like to give time for question and answer, which we will do at the end of this in case somebody doesn't have anything along the way. So that's why we held over doing our payee and payroll item until today, because we wanted to make sure we gave time for payroll questions last week. It's slow playing me, so we'll see what happens here. Any questions while this is waiting? Any questions so far? How many knew these reports were out here? Anybody? Hopefully they are helpful for someone, okay? Hopefully, again, we've got ways and means of doing everything, and you may only do this a couple times a year, but how cool would it be if, okay, now I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'm going to show you something. I'm going to come back to it because I'm excited about sharing it, so we're going to share it. So this is history, okay? So this is history on how much money right here, $4,100 was spent over the history of Special Cost Center 9302. You want to make your treasurer's day or your finance people's day? Tell them this report's out there. They may love this. Okay, this is something that might be helpful for them to see how much payroll was charged to these accounts. Okay, again, this is going to be your 100 object codes. Okay, this isn't going to be your benefits of 200. This is going to be expenditure accounts used for salaries. Okay, and subs, right? Oh my goodness, you could run that report and see how much your sub costs were. Right? You could run it on an object code, right? So again, don't put yourself in a box. Okay, we want to think outside the box. All right. Here's what I wanted to show you. Because it's just fun. So down here, back under the payroll account report. All right, let's say you get this and you're like, all right, I have got my payroll accounts cleaned up, right? I am sitting pretty, okay? But you know this year you're working on your fiscal 23 accounts, right? So you come in here and you're going, okay, I'm going to do anything with Special Cost Center. You know, we're going to keep it this. Let's pretend, okay, because Heidi's got 21 files, that this is your fiscal 23 stuff. Okay, you leave your Special Cost Center in there. And you come back here and you name this payroll. This is, again, 50,000 foot view, people. Okay, you can get more particular if you want. Payroll account, grant, inactive, something, whatever makes sense to you. I'm going to save this, just this part. Oh, no, wait, I'm going to make it one more better. Extract for load. Because, you know, we need to be intentional when we're giving our names. How many are flying with me here? We're going to save this. We're going to do this, and we're going to come down here. Oh, where's our save? Oh, that's right. I didn't pull it from the grid. That's all right. Save and recall. I'm going to give it a save and recall. Bam. Okay? Now when I can save it. Okay, let me show you how that works. It's going to save my settings. Okay, if I close this and I go about my business, do something else, and I come back in here the next year and like, I know I did this. And you come back into your payroll account report and you can come up to this one. It's going to automatically pull in your settings, and all you have to do is change the special cost center. So now next year, you could go make all last year's accounts inactive, and now you still have clean files. So every year you've created yourself a template, okay? You've kind of created yourself a template every year, okay? So if you've not used that save and recall before, it is super slick for saving your settings, okay? All right. All right, I'm going to slow my roll for a second and ask again if there are any other questions on payroll accounts before we go into the payroll accounts new area. Anybody still out there? I see 52 people. I want to make sure everybody's on. All right. Please feel free to interrupt me if you'd like, okay? Mass load type. Yes, payroll accounts. Thank you, Corinne, for asking. So if you go to utilities and you go to mass load, when you update those, you're going to choose the entity, and it is payroll accounts right here. Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Great question. Thanks, Cassie. All right. All right. So let's go back to core, and we're going to go to payroll accounts new. Okay. So this is a great cross-reference. Again, maybe you want to see it in a different view format. You can see the same type of stuff from the employee dashboard. Again, this is in development. So let's say I just wanted to see Daisy Duck's accounts, okay? And I just wanted to see them all here for all positions, and I wanted to see them all kind of spelled out. Watch the difference. If I go into Daisy's dashboard and I go into payroll accounts, I'm just seeing what I see in the regular payroll accounts. Come on, Heidi. If I go in, I'm just seeing job 20 and job 21, right? I'm not seeing the detail. I'm not seeing them all split out or anything like that. So that's where this core payroll accounts new comes into play. Use this a couple times with districts. They're like, why is it charging this account? Or why am I getting this error when I process my payroll? That's one place I'm not going into for this, is the dashboard. I'm coming right here and seeing overall, what does the employee have split over all that person's positions. So do you all see how this could be really helpful when you're processing your payroll, getting any type of payroll account error? You can see all of this in detail. And let's say I only wanted to look at position 1 equals 1. So let's get rid of job 20, okay? Now I can just see relates what I'm paying, right? All right. That's the only bells and whistles there with payroll accounts new right now. Now, here's what I would love to ask of our users. I know we have 52 on here, so I would just love this. If you could send in collectively as a district, okay? If you have 2 or 3 people on there, if you want to send it in, if you like where this grid is going, okay? Please let us know that in a redesign help desk ticket, okay? Please let us know the enhancements you like on there. Let me give you a wink, wink, some hints. Reporting, okay? More options, okay? Really, there's not a whole lot of more bougie stuff mass change. Mass change in this area, okay? So if you could do us a favor, that gives us power as an ITC to send it up to SSDT and say, yes, you guys are on the right track with this. Thank you for doing this, but can we have this in the future? So when they're developing this, we're getting the right things on board. So I do ask that you all do that. To our meta team, if you would, you can assign those to me. I'll take care of them, okay? Because I know that's going to flood our tickets. It's fine. I'll take the burden. I don't mind that at all. So we're going to get good stuff. Okay. All right. Thank you. Somebody reminded me about something I said. Oh, thank you. Yes. So let's swing back. Again, if you have any questions on anything, ask me. but someone reminded me that I said I was going to come back to the dashboard and tell you about this area up here, okay? So we love the dashboard, right? We love the dashboard that, one, there's just a little extra color in there. Two, things are nice and organized. But there's some things we can now have that are important to us. The SSDT, so I've been on some prioritization calls where we're going to get to bougie up this top area a little bit by employee, okay? Now, what that means is it'll be by district, not by user, okay? It will be by district, from my understanding, is that maybe you want to see their primary positions, or not primary positions, excuse me, but their positions listed right at the top, along with the active compensation. Just so at a nice quick glance, that is something that maybe you want to see, right? Or last paid, right? Or something. So all of those things that may be different between Chrissy and Corinne. I can only see their faces right now, so I'm going to pick on those two ladies. But those two ladies may want to see different things at their district, so you'll get to pick. It's somehow called some widget deal. I don't remember the full name of it, but that is coming. So although these totals are fabulous to see, if I really want to see those, what can I do? I can go run a W-2 report. I can go run other things to find those types of deals. But we will get to bring in some more creative type options. Okay? Thank you for reminding me that I was going to indeed circle back to that. The payroll accounts new theory is still the same. Remember this little blurb that I showed you right here for payroll accounts? This also is the same blurb you're going to find on the documentation here, verbatim. Okay, so payroll accounts is payroll accounts. Okay, if you did not know, payroll accounts, the account synchronization, this can be run at any time. It's automatically run on all systems. I think it's at 4 o'clock every morning that it's supposed to update for you, so it does it that way. But let's say you're adding benefits accounts or expenditure accounts along the way, you will need to synchronize that. Now, along that path, since we're talking about payroll accounts, how can I know for sure it got synced without just sitting there waiting on it? Hey, if you're not familiar with this area right here, so I'm going to leave it on the screen for a little bit so everybody can make a note. Again, anything under the USAS integration area has to do with the bridge between USAS and USPS. Okay? All right. So we're going to go into this expenditure account. And before you're like, I don't want to do anything with the expenditure accounts, it's a USAS thing, don't worry, it's read only, you can't hurt anything here. Okay? So take a deep sigh. It's all good. This is how I know if this account that I'm looking for has been synced. Okay? So let's try this. Let's see if this account number is in here. Let me try 572. Okay, 572. And let's say I'm looking for account 9913. Okay, now it's drilled down a little bit. And I know I need account 111. Okay, that's the account that I'm not able to find when adding it to my employee. If it shows in here, you'll be able to scroll over and you're going to find this column. Is it active? Yes. Is it synced with USAS? Yes. Okay, so I just had this happen the other day with a district. They had added it. It was going through that delay for them. By the time I was able to get in there, of course, you know, when a mechanic looks at the car, it never does what you want it to when you report it to the mechanic. I was able to find it, but that's because it had synced just in the time that they sent us the request and we went to look for it. So if this says false, either sync again, okay, or go see if it's still inactive in the USAS side of the house, okay, or be patient. It might just take a little bit of time, okay. So this area here will be good in helping you to find, why can't I find this payroll account when trying to add it to my employee? Okay, so this is just a read-only area to help you out. Okay, how many did not know this was there? Did not know this was there? See some hands up every once in a while. Okay, good. Oh, good, Cassie. Good. Hopefully that'll help you and help others. Okay. All right. Fabulous. Okay. I'm sorry. Somebody have a question? Okay, cool. Any questions? Good. Oh, good, Sarah. Good. Any questions on payroll accounts? Okay. All right. We're going to go into payments. I'm going to try to stop about, so anybody that's on my team, I may need you to flag me or tap me or whatever. I'm going to try to stop about a quarter till, probably more like 10 till. Let's do quarter till to aid time in questions and answers. So if I get on a roll, I may need somebody to holler at me. So, all right. So let's go up into payments. All right. So within this payments drop down, you have what's called a check register, manual payments, payee, payroll, and refund. So basically what the SSDT has done is the check register is a listing of all, but then they have gone ahead and done the sorts for you, gone ahead and done the filtering for you and broke them out into subcategories. So let's cover this. Manual is going to be any time you needed to do what was called a manual check. If you were a classic user, but you're new to redesign, that would have been what we used to call a hand check. All right. So every once in a while, there's situations where we need to do a manual check. And that could be if maybe somebody had $50 returned back because they forgot to tell you their savings account was closed, but you sent the direct deposit anyway. Or maybe there was a payroll item or a deduction check that was returned to you in part. So you can make adjustments to there. There is great documentation on the manual area out on the SSTT Wiki. Anything to do with a payee. So what does that section cover? Well, we covered it earlier in our training, right? It's going to be a deduction company's name. So those are going to be deductions. Anything that is a payee payment is a company payment for deductions or a payroll item payment. Anything under the payroll area, that's going to be any employee-related payment, whether it be checks or direct deposits. Some districts still do checks for pre-note. Some districts still do checks for their student workers, okay? So we don't want to exclude, and there may be times where you had a direct deposit return and you have to issue it as a check, okay? You're going to see those there in that area. We're going to go over each one. And then refund. If you've ever done a payroll item refund to an employee, you're going to see those payments there. And those could be done as a physical check or also as an ACH payment, okay? So within the check register area, if you're the person that does this, you may not be the person that does this, but this is going to be where you can reconcile or unreconcile payments, okay? So check. So for example, I'm just going to pick on the one that's up top. Of course, that looks like that says paid. So any status of paid, so let's drill down, means I can reconcile, okay? So I can reconcile anything with paid. And if you've been on one of our trainings before, or if you haven't, and you're the one that reconciles your bank statement, we recommend coming in here and running a report first, okay? And see how many items have not been reconciled before you do, just so you have a before screenshot. If you run this report as a PDF, it will give you totals, okay? But you can run it however you wish. All right, so let's say I want to pick on, you'll notice, got ahead of myself. You notice how some of these icons or these tabs are grayed out. They're called action buttons. I have to actually take action on one for them to come up, okay? So let's say I just want to go ahead and reconcile this payment, okay? I can go ahead and click on reconcile. Now you can do a group of them, a range of them. I think most of you are familiar with the grids now. So if I had a check number range and you're manually doing this, you could put that range of payment numbers in and do that. I can give it any reconciliation date I would like. I'm back in 21, so I'm just going to change that to 21, okay? And I'm going to reconcile it. You'll watch that it's going to go from a paid status to a reconciled, and it's going to have a reconciled date. Okay, it's going to update here. And I have a P in there. So if I change this to an R, okay, there's my 9/15 date. Okay, so easy peasy, right? Easy peasy. All right. Let's say I needed to unreconcile. You're like, I fat fingered that, or I got happy with my mouse and I didn't mean to do that. So you can always, it's got a forgiveness. Okay, you can come in here and there's the one I did, 9/15. I can click on this button and I can unreconcile it. Okay, and it's just going to change it back to a status of paid. Okay. All right. There are other means of reconciling. We do have some districts set up that do auto reconcile. That's mostly used on the USAS side more than it is on the payroll side, because so many folks have gone to direct deposit or electronic transfers to certain companies. But if you don't and you have a flood of them, you may use the auto reconcile, which basically means you're downloading a file from your bank, okay, of all of the cashed payments, okay, or anything that's been debited. It's brought in as a spreadsheet, okay. You're going to give your reconciliation date. We would have it set up, so there's going to be a format. So if you already have this set up, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We as Meta Solutions help you create that format. So basically it's what layout that sheet's going to be coming in, okay? The bank account, and then you're going to upload that file, okay? When you upload it, it is automatically going to reconcile everything that was on that file, okay? So it's just a down and dirty way of doing it. There are some other options within this check register tab. We can reissue a check, okay? So you're going to tell it what bank account. If you're doing it as a new check number, you notice there is a tooltip here. So for my new peeps out there, or maybe even some that are veterans, okay? If you take a long enough time to hover over the field, there may be a tooltip. If you leave this blank, it will assign the next highest number available, okay? And then you can issue the reissue date and then confirm, okay? All right. Let's say I wanted to print this check. You could come into print checks. Whoops, hold on, and please select the checks that have numbers assigned to them. Oh, that's right. Sorry, my bad. I forgot I had done paid and selected the wrong one. Down here, I'm going to do print checks, okay? I'm going to do XML. I can label it and I can process that payment and get a new XML file. Let's say you have a student worker who shoved that paycheck in his pocket, ran through the mud, then it was laundered and all that kind of stuff, and you just need to reissue it, right? It happens, life happens. Shouldn't pick on the kids, it happens to us. And then I process that so I can get them a new check. Don't worry about the check number. If it's already assigned, it's going to keep that same one. Resequence. This rarely happens, but you can actually resequence some check numbers. This was heavily popular when we migrated everybody over. If you have that situation and you need that, let us know and we can walk you through that process. Okay? All right. The next area is manual. Again, I am going to go ahead and go out to the documentation and provide that link for you, because we're not going to spend a lot of time, so we can give time for question and answer. And this happens maybe, gosh, I'm not even sure, 5% of the time. So I want to put that out there for you. All right. If we go into Payee, you'll notice in Payee and in Payroll, there are multiple tabs. This is going to cover all the payments. This is now subtotaled or grouped just by the deduction checks. And this is going to be by electronic transfers, or those like Medicare, federal tax, state tax, those that you're doing electronically, or retirement that they're automatically debiting you for, okay? But what I want to show you is in each one of these tabs, there are different action buttons available. Do you notice this? Different action buttons available, okay? Now, something else that I would like to show you that I think even some of our veteran people did not know this was on here, okay? You'll notice that in this grid, I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but there's what's called a highlighter view. Highlighter view is if I left click on this row, and it may have happened accidentally too, you left click on a row and some box pops up on the right and you're like, what'd I do? It's all good, it's an informational piece, but this one is super uber helpful. In this payee payments grid, I love this because notice what all information is provided to you. These show up here when you post them from outstanding payables, okay? Who doesn't like a breadcrumb trail? Right here, this girl does. So when you post from outstanding payables, you not only get that stuff on a report, but then you can see that stuff visibly here. It gets even better, okay? So I can see, let's pick on Barwick travel, okay? Because who doesn't want to travel this time of year, right? Way out of Dodge, right? We are all thinking the same thing. So for Barwick travel, when I paid them, this amount, this $940.27, is made up of deductions off of contributions from employees on my February 25th pay, my March 15th pay, and my March 31st pay. Who didn't know this was out here? How helpful is that? It's incredibly helpful. So let's go you one better, okay? Not only does that 940 made up of these pay dates, but it also of these payroll items. So if you look back in time and you're like, oh my goodness, when I posted that out of outstanding payables, I forgot to include the 804s, right? Maybe that amount's not right. It's okay. It's all right. What you can do is post that out of payables again and then just send them 2 checks, or there's a way of redoing that. We're not going to get into the weeds on that right now, but we can fix all that, okay? I would love to tell you, I want to tell you that, but it's an easy way of doing it. So anyhow, let's get to the point. This amount made up of these dates, these contributions. Now let's do the highlighter view. I'm going to left click on that row anywhere, okay? Don't panic, it pops up. It's just giving us some details. It's saying, okay, that payee, there's their address, all that kind of jazz. Here is the best thing since sliced bread. Not only do we have those details up here, but if you notice in the bottom left-hand corner, there is an area with an eyeball called Show Payables Detail. This, right here, my friends, I clicked on the eyeball, now shows me all the employees that make up that amount, all of the pay dates, and the payroll item code. So this is literally what you would have seen on a report, payables report from the outstanding payables grid, okay? So now you're able to go in there and see who all made up that total and for what, okay? Did everybody capture that? Do I need to show it again? Okay? So you get a second chance. Not only do you have that payables detail report, but also now you can go in here and see who made it up, what the amounts were. And I think, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to super scan that, geez. I thought it had the pay date in here. I don't know why it doesn't have the pay date on this one, but I am in a demo account, so I don't know if that's why it's not showing, but regardless. So that's a very cool item. Again, we're talking about pay payments. You're going to see this in this first tab only, okay? You're not going to see it over here or over here, okay? So again, this is where you would do any voiding, unvoiding, or you can grab, again, a pay payment report. How many knew this was here? If I generate a payee payment report, it's going to tell a breakdown of the amount per payroll item, okay? Per payroll item. It doesn't give all the employees details, okay? That's in the highlighter view. This is going to tell you of the 940 on the grid, it showed you the payroll item codes and the pay dates. This is going to show you the amount per grouping, okay, for those pay dates, okay? So it's a just in case you need it type of deal. All right, so next one, I'm getting close to time here. All right, payee payment checks. Again, you're going to have different action buttons here. You can reissue. If we reissue a check, okay, it's going to give us the option to give it a new check number. If you leave it blank, it'll do the next highest, okay, or you can resequence. The electronic is going to give you reconcile and unreconcile, okay? You're not going to be able to void, unvoid from here. So just notice there are different action buttons for each tab. So if you're not finding what you're looking for, scooch you over to the next one and see if that helps, okay? So we're going to go to payments, payroll, okay? That was payroll items. Very cool stuff over there. We have cool stuff here too, okay? Again, you can do a highlighter view. Again, it doesn't have all the bougie details that our payee one does, but still has some pretty awesome details, which is like you see where. This is the same information if you do the highlighter view in the employee dashboard on someone, okay? Same deal if you do the highlighter view, right? Let me close that little box, right? Again, this area, void, unvoid, and here's your second option. Remember I talked about the verification of employment? I could pull up my employee that, let's pull up Strickland here, S-T-R-I, Strickland. Maybe I need a date range, or I like my mouse and I like clicking. Again, I can do several direct deposits on WinPDF and send it to them. Direct deposits, again, it's just a breakdown of direct deposits. I can only reissue from here. And then payment checks. So again, those payroll, so it's employee related checks. I can do reissues from here. So let's do this. A reissue, okay? And again, it's going to ask about new check number and that. If I do, oops, sorry, my bad, didn't fill that in. I'm going to uncheck mark that. I'm going to do this, reissue, and same thing, okay? All right, the last area in payments, and then I'm going to stop talking and ask questions here, is refund, okay? Refund, again, this, when you do the refund process, this is where you would come to do your print file. I think it actually sends you here now, or it actually gives you the option to do it right on the screen. I think they enhanced that since the last time I've done this. But anyhow, this is where you can come in and see all of your refund type payments. If you've ever wanted to see details, here is a refund detail report. It's not grandiose details, it's pretty simplistic details, okay? But it's still some further details, more than what the grid offers, okay? And it's just saying this is the payment number, it was a refund of a deduction, here is the amount and the issue date, okay? And again, you can void and unvoid these as well from here. Then it's broken out into checks, and then it's also broken out into, you can actually do a refund as an ACH payment if you wish. Okay. All right. Woohoo, 2:45, and nobody had to holler at me. All right. So does anyone, open floor, things that we have covered from last training to this one, okay, is the employee record, the ACH destination, attendance and absences, positions, compensations, and then on this training, at the beginning, we covered payee and payroll item configuration. We covered the employee dashboard. We covered payroll items. We covered payroll accounts and the multiple ways to get to, and then that new bougie view that we're going to all send something to us about enhancing that, and then the payments area. Do we have any questions on any of those? Just saw a question come up. If we use the Excel field names options for a report, then do a mass load and receive errors about the headers, what step? Great question. What steps do we take? Not sure if I should just change the headers or if the instance needs. So Corinne has a very good point. There are some areas within redesign where I might go to one grid because I can pull in some extra stuff just for reference, but those headers don't match the headers that are necessary for the load I'm going to do into a different entity, right? So to that point, thank you so much, Corinne, for asking. So let's do it this way. I keep opening up my other tabs. If you're in your application, if we go to the help button and we go to documentation, again, we have a lot of new users on here that may not be aware of this. This is going to take us right directly to our payroll manual, okay? You don't have to go bookmarking that somewhere else or anything. It's right there within your application, okay? It takes you right to payroll. It doesn't take you to the home page, and then you got to figure out where to go from there. It takes you right there, okay? So Corinne, thank you for asking that question because it gave me a great segue to show people how to get to their help. So we do mass loads under utilities, correct? So we're going to go to utilities. We're going to click on mass load. And to Corinne's point, this is where we're going to get the important information we need for our load. So let's talk about payroll accounts, okay? Because we were talking about payroll accounts earlier. If I need to know what the headers are for each one of these sections, again, these are going to be my entities, okay? These are chapters within this novel, okay? I'm going to click on payroll accounts. It is going to tell me the following should be checked, okay? Valid headers, okay? In this second column over, this is the headers you need to use. So let's say it just pulled in number, okay? Well, we know that that might be employee number. Well, or it could be position number or position code, right? We've seen them different based on the grids or based on the records that they're on. So if we're doing a payroll account mass load, we know that the position, if it's position 1 or position 20, needs to have a header of position number. And it has to be, it's all case sensitive, very case sensitive. So it has to be just like this. Instead of just number for employee, it has to be employee number, okay? There is an ID. So remember earlier when I showed you a couple different reports, if you were going to do that, they have created a report that you can download, import to your application, and use it as your extract file, okay? So let me put this link in the chat box for if any of you are interested in updating your payroll account. Download that JSON file. I'm going to show you how to do it since the question was asked. If nobody minds, I'm going to show you how to download what's called a JSON file. So if you'll notice it says, actually it's the French is JSON, but Jason, our support person, always loves it when we say it that way. But this report,
that's right, it's JSON.
JSON, he says it way better than I do. So Jason, thank you. All right, so I'm just going to simply left click on it. I love our team. We're fun. All right, so I'm going to download that. Okay. Mine happens to go to the bottom left. It also goes to my downloads folder, okay? Then I'm going to go back into my application. I'm trying to be slow, which is hard for me. I'm going to go to reports, then report manager. I'm going to go to import report, and mine's already set for downloads. I'm going to pull this in. Now, don't worry about the parentheses too, okay? It's okay. I'm going to click on that and open. Notice the file extension right here, okay? Don't change that, okay? It's going to pop up a window and it's going to give me an option then to name it, okay? Well, I'm going to be intentional. I'm going to remove that extract for import. Now, this is just me being me, okay? But when I do this a year from now, I kind of want to remember, okay? I can also separate that so it just doesn't look so janky. Tags. These are shortcuts. So if you ever import or you're working on a report that you just want to know, I do it yearly, right? Or I do it monthly, or it's payroll accounts or something along that line. I could put in year, extract, import. I'm going to show you how this works, okay? So, well, helps if I capitalize. It's not necessary, but I'm going to do it. So then I'm going to save it, okay? So here's my report down here, or I can filter by my name, okay? Right? Now, there's a tag area. It's over here. Let's pull this over, okay? Now look there. Now I just, as opposed to looking through all the report names, I just gave myself a cheat. I can either search for a year, or if it's within the title, I can use a wild card. So I'm going to use the percentage sign, IMP, percentage sign. And it's going to know that within my tags, I have something labeled that. So now I can give it 3 different things, because who knows where your mind's going to be at next year, right? If you're going to remember, you do it on a yearly basis. If it, I know it has something to do with an import. Okay, you can give yourself a cheat. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful for someone. Okay, now when I run that report, so I'm going to download it. It gives me some options. I could do by employee number. I'm not doing that. I'm going to do all of them, which do I want to do all of them? I don't. So hang tight with me. Let me go grab somebody's number, because that could take forever and nobody wants to do that. I'm lazy. I'm doing a copy and paste. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to just put my employee number in. Okay. And then I'm just going to go ahead and generate that report. Dang it, they didn't put it in. Hold, please. Let me close that. We come back to the report. I didn't check the setting up here. I want Excel field name. So if you import that, you might want to change that setting and save it to do Excel field names, but maybe you want to look at totals first, you know, dealer's choice. Make sure it saved that for me. Good. Okay, great. So now what I'll have to do is I'm going to have to go out against that documentation that I just showed you, because again, I'm not sure where the source was that they brought these in, but all right, right off the top, I know this is wrong. Okay, this has to say back. See where it says position number? I'm going to have to change that. Spreadsheet right there. Okay. All right, so you can do those types of things. Thank you for asking that question. Anyone else? Questions? We have plenty of time.